Hello and welcome to Full Throttle. Now today I want to talk to you about McLaren. You see, over the years they've made a load of really great track Formula 1 race cars like the MP4-12C that Ayrton Senna drove and so on and so forth. Then in the 1990s they made the McLaren F1, which then was the fastest car in the world. In 2004 they joined up with Mercedes to make the incredible SLR, and since then they haven't really been doing much. All they've been doing is sticking to Formula 1 until now, for you see that this is their latest endeavor into the supercar world, the weirdly named MP4-12C. Now I know what you're thinking, it may sound like a stupid name, but this is said to be the competitor to the 458. Now I've driven the 458 quite a bit, and I have to say it is a great car. The question is, can this, with its V8 engine and its British heritage, really stand a chance against the 458? To find out, I took it to Scotland. Hello, you join me here on the Scottish road, where I am driving the new McLaren MP4-12C. Oh, that's helpful. You know what, just for this video I'm just going to call it the 12C. And immediately whilst driving this thing, I have to say, for a supercar, which is what this is, the suspension, oh my god, the ride of the suspension is some of the most comfortable I have ever experienced. I have never been as comfortable driving this fast and this aggressively as I have in any car, any supercar, mind you. The suspension is that good. Now, it's even better than its competitor, the 458. But question is, how does this fare against the 458? Well, let's see. This costs £168,500. The Ferrari costs about 170 grand. It does better fuel economy. This does 24.1 miles a gallon, whereas the Ferrari does about 22, I believe. This has a 7-speed dual clutch automatic gearbox. The Ferrari only has a 6-speed. And the engine inside this is actually a little bit bigger. Actually, this has a 3.8 liter twin turbocharged V8. And honestly, the engine, it does sound good. And honestly, the first time I put my foot down and held it down there properly, the level of thrust that was unleashed through the rear tires is simply was genuinely a shock to me, because I did not know that it was how fast it would be. The engine as well, it revs up to 8,500 RPM, which means it doesn't rev as high as the 458, because the 458 would rev at about 9,000, but still it still is very good. And the noise as well. The noise of the V8, listen to it. Listen to that noise. See, and even the handling. My god, the handling in this car is actually the only thing about this is the interior of this car is, well, if you ask me, quite dull. But main thing, since I'm driving it on the road and all that sort of stuff, how is it on the road? Well, I have to say, apart from the suspension, I've praised that before, but honestly, you can use this as a city car, and you would want to. I mean, the boots The boot's pretty big. It has fewer carbon dioxides coming out of the back, which is good for all you environmental freaks. I know you're out there. And actually, it's more, as I've said before, it's more economical than the 458, which means, again, happy with for the environmental enthusiasts. Again, the ride's actually quite good. The V8 itself, it is purpose built. I mean, but the thing is, like any McLaren, the 458 is meant to both be spectacular on road and on the track. So let's take this away from the road and let's head to the racetrack to find out how good it is. I am here on the Black Hills race circuit in Scotland, and I've only been in this car for about a minute now, and immediately you could tell that as soon as you get in, this car is way different from when it was on the track. Actually, when it was on the road. When it was on the road, it felt smooth, it felt civilized, like a Rolls Royce. This feels like a knife. This feels like a racer. I mean, McLaren are a racing team, but it feels like a racer through and through. I mean, everything is totally different. But then again, so was the Ferrari. How does it compare? Well, first off, it costs, as I've said before, it costs £168,500, which is less than the 458. This actually, it goes from 0 to 60 faster than the Ferrari. The Ferrari does 3.4. This does 3.1. The top speed faster. The top speed for the Ferrari is about 198. This 205 miles an hour. The engine, the 3.8 liter twin turbocharged V8 engine produces more horsepower than the Ferrari. The Ferrari does about 562 brake horsepower. The McLaren 592. The brakes on this car are really good. They're carbon ceramic, so that means that you can stop that the stopping distances are short, which means that it's a really good stopping car. The aerodynamics, I mean, the front, the back, actually the front grills, the aerodynamics of this car is where it kicks in. From the front to the back, it all just channels air, making sure that you go faster. The steering, it's another win for the McLaren, because the steering in this is immediate. It feels responsive. It just goes like that. It's that instantaneous. The gearbox as well. I mean, when I was on the road, I usually hate automatics. I mean, I still do hate automatics, but I don't hate this one as much. I mean, I hate it when I was on the road. But on this track, I hate it less so. And that's a good thing. That was a good thing for me, because I usually would hate it. Now, the ride. To show you actually how comfortable this ride is. Look, I'm driving off. I drove just on the grass there, and I did not feel a thing. I didn't feel uncomfortable. I didn't feel a jolt going back onto the road. It just felt smooth. It didn't even feel like I drove over anything at all. That is how good the suspension and the ride in this car is, especially when I'm drifting around corners like that, as you've just seen. It's a really good racer. It's a really good racer. However, I will admit there are about one or two problems with this car. The first one being the looks. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not an ugly car per se, but it's not jaw-droppingly beautiful either. The 458 was a jaw-dropper. This kind of looks bland in comparison. The second problem for the 12C, and it's actually kind of a big one. When I was driving the 458, I felt excited. I felt joy. I loved it. It felt sensational. When I'm driving this, it feels like I'm driving a Golf. A Volkswagen Golf GTI. That's not a bad thing. But when it's in a supercar, yeah, that is a bad thing. You want your supercar to feel different from the other cars. This just doesn't. Now it's time for the final verdict, and I'm gonna give this an 8 out of 10. Had it not been bland and all that, it would have been a 10 easily. Okay, that's the final that's my final verdict. Now, to take this onto the racetrack, I'm gonna give it to our test driver to see how fast this thing can really go against the rest.